Hello, everybody. Spider here, coming soon podcast, of course, once again, San Antonio, Texas, coming to you live, being joined by Jacob Floyd, my man. How are you doing today, bro?
All right, how are you doing?
Man, I'm great, brother. I mean, I appreciate your time, like I mentioned earlier, jumping on here. And of course, right off the bat, dude, I mean, I do have questions. I did have your wife on here previously. And like I said, I appreciate your time, brother, because, I know everybody's busy. So, of course, making whatever minutes you can. Appreciate that. But of course, man, I mean, right off the bat, bro, I want you to talk about the company. I mean, obviously, this is you and your wife that run this publishing company.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and let me ask. I mean, when you guys, I mean, met, was it through reading? I was just curious about that.
Oh no, we both worked at the same place. That's how we met.
Oh, okay, cool, man. And of course, I mean, was reading something you guys had in common?
Yeah, that was one thing we had in common.
Cool, brother. And of course, and the reason I'm asking this is because, of course, I mean, you guys have been doing a lot of great things, helping other, writers out there get published, bro. Because I mean, Nightmare Press for right off the bat, dude. I love the name. It says a lot, and but I mean, being that it is Nightmare Press, I mean, you guys hit a lot of genres, right? I mean, it's not necessarily. Is it strictly horror, or like how far do you guys reach?
No, it's not just horror. Before, at first, it was we had Nightmare Press for horror. We had Anubis Press for paranormal nonfiction, and I had plans to open other presses. We had one called Wild West Press, which was going to be for westerns and like Weird West and stuff like that. But we've kind of combined everything, and we got over the next couple of years, or hopefully sooner, we'll have different sorts of genres like sci-fi and fantasy, magical realism, more westerns, and yeah, we're expanding. We wanted to move beyond just the horror
Yeah.
genre and into other things.
No, no, and of course, I mean, I kind of like the fact that you guys put it all under one umbrella because I personally, I mean, when it came to networking at one point, I had like 5, 6 different pages, and man, it's a lot of work, bro. I mean, trying to
Yeah,
work one page, and having like 5, 6 floating around, and losing messages, which was a big one for me because I'd forget who wrote where, and but it was a mess. But yeah, I mean, the fact that it's an umbrella company, and of course, you guys, like you said, you're going to be helping publish tons of different genres, bro. Because like first off, dude, like Western, I'm real big with Western, man. I mean, growing up here in the '80s, with my pops, watching kung fu theater, watching Western, watching wrestling, all that cool stuff that was out there, and of course horror. So the fact that you guys cover all that, I mean, that's pretty cool, man.
yeah. The first book we actually published that wasn't our own was a western fantasy called Bella, and that predated even Nightmare Press's first release. Not counting my book Night of the Possums, that was we launched Nightmare Press with that. But the first author we signed that wasn't one of us
Right. Yeah,
was
but let me ask you. I mean, what was the reason behind becoming a publishing company? I mean, what was it like for you guys to just get stuff done quicker, or what was it?
that's part of it, and we kind of wanted to do things our own way. We were with other publishers, um, nothing against them.
Yeah,
Um, we had contacted other publishers regarding our paranormal books, and we didn't like what they had to offer. They were more mid-level presses. We didn't like what they had to offer and what they were asking, so we decided to publish the paranormal on our own. And like I said, we had a couple with other local presses, and they were fine. Nothing against them, like I said, but we just kind of wanted to do it ourselves. And then what made me want to reach more into horror was just kind of seeing, I don't know, I wanted to do something different than what was going on in the indie horror, publishing scene.
and let me ask you because I mean, it's nothing compared to what you guys are doing, but I mean, back for me in the '90s, I used to have an underground zine where I used to interview, punk rock bands or hardcore bands that would come through the state. And it was a hassle, man. I mean, I wasn't, like I said, I didn't have a publishing company. I was going to Kinkos and doing my own little cut and paste and staples. But I mean, for you guys, I mean, do you guys have something local? I mean, is it something that you guys own that you guys use?
Well, you mean as far as the printing and all that?
Right.
Well, no, we can just. There's a lot more options now than there were in the '90s. Obviously,
Oh
we
yeah.
we started out on Amazon, publishing on Amazon, but we've recently started moving things to Draft to Digital, and which is a platform that was originally just for ebooks, but now they're doing print books as well, and they have a wider distribution. We still put stuff on Amazon, but Draft to Digital will automatically put stuff like available on Amazon and other sites. And
Oh nice.
if you're doing print books, you have a wider distribution channel because there are a lot of companies who consider Amazon their rivals. So if you want to put a book in a store, a lot of them won't order through Amazon, but they will through Ingram Spark, and Draft to Digital is available through Ingram Spark. So
Gotcha, man. And of course, like you said, things have gotten I don't want to say easier because of course I know it takes work. But yeah, I was just curious about that because I mean, even here, like in San Antonio, there's a lot of local publishing companies that have closed over the years, and it's a shame. I know a lot of when it comes to old equipment, old stock, it just gets discontinued. You can't find it, so for you guys to use companies like Amazon and others to be able to get this done, I mean, it makes sense, because it keeps you guys from having to go and do everything yourself, right?
right, that's been the good thing about Amazon in the beginning is that's how a lot of small presses have popped up. I mean, even long before us, a lot of people have been utilizing Amazon or Ingram Spark. I think there's one called Lightning Source that people have used, and there's more platforms. There's more out there. There's something called Lulu. Of course, Draft to Digital, like I mentioned. So it's definitely changed the market, and I do think using the word easier is probably a correct word because I mean it's a lot easier than running out and doing what you had to do with your magazine, and it's certainly more cost effective, and there's less risk involved by doing it through these print on demand companies.
No, yeah, I mean, because obviously they have the machinery, right? So it takes that away from having to go and purchase and maintenance alone. I can only
Yeah.
imagine, man. But yeah, but of course, I mean, when it comes to writing, I mean, for you, when did writing start for you? Was it something that became early in age? I mean, was it later on?
I guess it was probably always there. I know most writers say that. I didn't really decide I wanted to actually write books until I was like mid to late teens. But when I was a child, I used to carry around a notebook, and I tried to do what Harriet the Spy did. I would try to write about people around me in places, but I would end up just making up stuff and embellishing it. So I just started, then I went to making up short story ideas and stuff. But as a kid, I
Yeah.
never, wrote the full story and went back and rewrote it or anything. But
Man, I mean that's pretty cool though, man. I mean, I used to write a lot myself, and it was mostly, um, poems. I guess a lot of it rhymed. I mean, I know it doesn't necessarily have to rhyme to be a poem, but I mean, for some reason, for me, it just made sense.
But when I
Um,
was a teenager, that's what I turned to. I started writing poems mostly, and I personally, I'm only interested really in poems that rhyme anyway. So I don't really read the ones that don't, except for like Allen Ginsberg. That'd be
yeah,
about it.
no, no, for sure, man. And let me ask you too, because I mean, of course, going back to say high school. I mean, was it? I guess not so much awkward, but I mean, did you always kind of keep away, and were you always at the library? Were you always just keeping away and sticking to yourself when it came to writing?
No, not really, because I don't know. I'm more reclusive now that I'm older. I was never an extrovert kind of kid, but I had a lot of friends and I did a lot of things. But most people who knew me knew I wrote poetry, and I would read them at the school, and I would read them in like coffee shops around town.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, and I did it. I mean, I'd write them in class. I'd be sitting at a restaurant and write them. I carried a notebook around with me. I didn't really care. I didn't care what people thought. So I just did. So
No, no, and I hear you, man. I mean, I used to have one of the classes that I actually enjoyed that I had in high school was a reading class, man. Because obviously all we did was go in there and not just read, but she would go into. I don't think she ever published anything. I mean, I wasn't. I didn't know my teacher. I mean, of course, I remember her name is Adams, but it was always always like looked forward to it because as soon as we got her class, she's like, okay, everybody get your pen and paper, write me about what you were thinking today, or what your thoughts for the day, basically. And my thoughts were pure, man. I mean, I used to write stuff that like, the buddy next to me, his classmate, like he was always like, dude, why are you making her cry? Because she was always crying, bro. Like I always hit a nerve, like not in a bad way, but she was just like, oh my god, like.
Yeah.
But I mean, even back then, I mean, I used to listen to punk rock music, so a lot of what I wrote about was corruption and just I mean, not necessarily like anti-government, but just in general, just what was going on. I mean, what I thought was didn't make sense, and I was a kid, so what did I know, but she enjoyed it, man. She was always like calling me out, and embarrassed the hell out of me, but it was pretty cool, man. And for me, I guess it was a little bit like therapy because I did get a lot of stuff off my chest, and go home, and that was it. That was pretty much the burden off my back, basically.
Yeah, it can definitely be therapeutic writing, that's for sure.
No, no, for sure, man. And let me ask you, I mean, when it comes to writing, because obviously you guys are still doing that, right? I mean, you're not just helping others get published, but I mean, writing yourselves.
Yeah, we still work on stuff. Jenny's working on a couple of projects, and so am I. But my main focus right now is trying to get books edited and published, and so
And then, well, the reason I'm asking is because I mean, are you still like pen on paper kind of guy, or are you online now mostly?
I have to type. I can't do freehand or whatever they call it. I did when I used to write poems, but it just doesn't work for me anymore.
No, you see, I agree. I mean, for me, it's mostly because I can't read my writing. That's
Yeah,
how bad it is, bro. So if I write something, I'm like, damn, what the hell did I write, dude? I mean, it's
yeah.
pretty
My
bad.
handwriting's terrible. It always has been, but it just gets worse with age.
Yeah, yeah. We just get lazy, I just scribble. It's like I like that whole signature thing now because I just scribble on it, and it's like, boom, done.
Yeah,
Looks like a masterpiece, man. But of course, man. I mean, I wanted to put something up because you guys did post it on your page, and I thought it was pretty cool because these are all basically projects from past, present, I mean, publishings, right?
yeah. There's some on there from the past.
Yeah.
There's some on there from Anubis Press that, like I said, is now combined with Nightmare Press. There's some on there. There's a couple on there that just came out. One of them on there is up for pre-order right now. A Chance in Hell. That's by Marcus Cook. That's on pre-order. It's going to come out later this month. The Vermin Sleep just came out by James Watson, and he's getting a lot of good reviews for that. Death and Lipstick is a project Jenny's working on right now. And yeah, there's different, and Horrifica is
Yeah.
something that's going to be coming out soon. So yeah, there's different projects all over that.
No, you see, and this is like you mentioned earlier. It's not just you guys, right? I mean, these are actual writers that you guys have brought on board and helping out.
Yeah, these are what we did when we revived Nightmare Press earlier this year. I had asked a friend of mine who was also an author. His name was Bobby Shupeck. I asked him if he wanted to help me revive Nightmare Press, and he was like, "Sure." So we talked it out, and we picked up a couple of other editors. You had one of our editors on here, Darren Fry, and uh, and we've had and another editor named Sherry Hughes, and we're getting some help promotionally from a guy named Dixon Turpin, who's also an author, and we're going to publish his book too. But yeah, so we put all that together, and we put out a submission call in January for people to send us submissions, and it ended on March 10th, and we went through, accepted some and declined some, and there's still a few left that we have to make a decision on, and then of course we still have other submissions coming in. But yeah, we're trying to make a good press for the authors and make something something new in the community.
No, no, for sure, man, and of course the fact we mentioned earlier when it comes to Amazon, getting the books out there, getting them in circulation. I mean, it helps because, I mean, doing this, it is networking. It is a lot of work having to just cross promote and cross post. But I mean, the fact that it's on Amazon and people can just type it in and it'll pop up, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's more difficult. I mean, the algorithms on Amazon are
Yeah.
tricky. Sometimes they're related to reviews. Like if you a lot of indie authors struggle to get reviews, but I mean, unless you're going to get like a couple thousand or something. I don't know how much it really helps the algorithms, but it's tricky to advertise on Amazon anyway. It feels like whatever they do, it just changes daily when it comes to that sort of thing.
No, and of course, I mean the fact that you guys are actually getting these printed, because I mean, like half of the world, we're always looking at our screen, whether it's our phone or a laptop, but having something there physically that you can hold and you can put away and go back to, it actually, I like that. I'm still old school like that when it comes to like DVDs, VHS. It's just digital. Uh, digital's out there and it's great, but I mean, I'd still prefer. I'm that guy. If I buy something, I gotta feel it with my hand. It's like
Right.
I've worked
Well,
retail and customers to be like, oh, can I see that? And I'm like, okay, well,
yeah,
everybody wanted to touch the product for some reason, but it makes sense.
we have digital options too. Every book is on ebook, so because that's a huge market right now. But yeah, we still have the print books. The good thing about that is Amazon or Draft to Digital, whomever they go through, they will print when it's ordered, so they don't just print up all the books and
Right.
have them sitting there. So it's real. It's like I said earlier, it's more cost effective and
Yeah.
low risk.
No, no, I agree, man. I mean, and it's just, it's kind of like I've done like I've had so many businesses. I've tried like doing when it comes to like t-shirts, I've tried it. I mean, and printing so much and getting stuck with so much, it's a pain, because
Yeah,
it's like I mean, you keep thinking, hey, everybody's gonna take them, and it trickles down. It's kind of last minute. I mean, people
yeah.
wait until the last minute or whatnot, but the fact that they can actually order, get it printed right there and then, that's actually pretty cool, man. I like that.
Yeah, it definitely makes it streamlines the process. That's for sure.
No, no, for sure. And let me ask you, because of course, I mean, we keep bringing up the company name, and I'm impressed. I mean, where did that come from? I mean, initially, was that something that you already had like in your head, thinking, okay, you know what, this is what I want to do?
I don't honestly remember how it came to me. I feel like when I thought about it, it would be cool to do that to do a horror imprint at first, even though I always kind of wanted to grow it into more. But I thought Nightmare Press. I was like that might work. I've not seen that name out there anywhere, so like
Nice. No, you see, and then that's another thing too, because myself, like I'm real big when it comes to domain names. I'm always looking for like keywords. I'm always looking for words I know people are gonna, coming soon podcast. When I thought of that, I was like, man, I mean, I looked at it right away. It was available. I bought it, and because of it, I mean, I do get a lot of hits. There's a lot of things that a lot of people that use the words coming soon. It's all over the place,
yeah, it is. It's
man. But
pretty common phrase.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. And then it's I mean, for me, and I had somebody ask me at one time, because it's like for me, it was always when it comes to like VHS or going to the video store and looking at that poster, which I have a few up here that are video store posters, but always at the bottom, coming soon to VHS, and I mean, a good movie, you're kind of excited to wait, waiting on it, and so the name always stuck to me, and it was one of those things that I always looked forward to when it came to going to pick up a movie or whatnot.
Mhm. Yeah, I miss the good old days of movie stores. That's
No, yeah, yeah. I mean, here locally, I know we have a few vendors that still sell VHS. We have a few stores. They stay open year round, and they have VHS as far as digital. Like CDs, DVDs. So it was pretty cool, man. It's that whole nostalgic thing. Go back in time and just kind of time travel. Back to the 80s or 90s, right?
yeah,
And let me
yeah.
ask you, man. I mean, when it comes to books, I mean, I'm sure of course, you have copies of what you guys publish. But what are some other authors, writers out there that you actually look up to, man? That that you might have laying around the house when it comes to books.
Was it like the authors that I've liked to read throughout my life? Yeah, strangely enough, most of the authors I like are dead. I like mostly the classics. Like my favorite books are Moby Dick and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Oh, nice, man.
And I like Dostoevsky, a lot of his work. But I guess as far as like living authors, I'm a fan of Clive Barker. I always have been, even before I really got into horror literature, which I'm not a big reader of horror literature, but I like it.
Yeah.
I like the concept of it. But I've always liked Clive Barker. Um, there's a couple other author. China, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but his name is China Mayville or Mayville. He writes sort of magical realism. I like him. Um, And there actually is one indie book that I read that I thought was excellent years ago. It's called Bleak Warrior by Alistair Rennie, and he's, I mean, it's not very well known, and he doesn't really interact much, and he hasn't written much more, but is one of my favorite books. It's
Oh, yeah.
really transgressive and really violent and pretty vulgar, but it's really well written.
No, yeah, you see, and let me ask you because, of course, I mean, like I said, go back to high school. We always had reading, writing. They would have us do essays and do the summary, do the. And I honestly, God, don't even remember exactly how they used to break it down. But I mean, when it comes to yourself, when you're actually writing something, what do you normally start with, and then go? Do you grow it from there?
I don't know. Usually, I'll be sitting around somewhere, or I'll be driving. I guess not back in high school, but I would just have an idea, and I will just like a lot of times it's like a title, like a title of a story would just come into my head, and I would just start
Oh, damn.
making up stuff, or I'd start writing. But with like when I wrote mostly poetry in high school, I sometimes it would start with a title, but most time I would have like just a word or a beginning line in my head, and I would just write a bunch of just stuff from there. So
And write it and then try to make sense of it, right?
yeah, pretty much.
But even now, because I mean, I'm sure you have writers that come to you guys and ask you as far as advice. I mean, what are some of the things for those maybe they haven't published anything but that are interested in writing? I mean, what would you say, man? What would you give? What advice would you give them?
Well, I guess there's multiple answers to that. It just depends on what they want out of it. I think that's usually the first thing I would ask somebody is, what do you want out of it? If you want to write, then if you just to write for the heck of it, there are no rules, just write what you want to write, and just make sure, well, there's grammatical rules, obviously, if you want to publish. If you want to publish with, if you want to try to land an agent and publish with one of the big five, technically big five, but really big four publishers, um, you will have to follow guidelines. So you have to know the market, you have to know the agents, what they're looking for. If you want to publish with mid-level press, you don't have to have an agent. You can just find, but you'll have to pay attention to what they're looking for and what they want. With small press, it's easier in a sense because you don't need an agent, and a lot of times the demands are a lot less with the small presses. So, but there's also the option of self-publishing, which is a good option depending on what type of approach you're going to take to the entire thing.
No, yeah, you see, and I actually know a couple of people here in Texas that do self publishing, and at first I thought it was something like I was like, man, I had never heard of that because I didn't know you could, they started doing that, when they did, and the fact that they're able to write and have it, get in that editor and have it printed, that's actually pretty cool, man. I mean, it's one of the ways to be able to get out there. I mean, what are the pros and cons would you say from doing like self publishing to actually getting on board with the company?
And that's another question with a lot of different answers. Self-publishing, the pros are you have full control, you get full all
Right,
the money back. I guess the cons could be it's all up to you to do the marketing, and
right,
but even with bigger publishers, even a lot of publishers, it's still really up to you as the author to do the marketing a lot of the
right.
time. Because like there's some presses out there that don't do any marketing, and Nightmare Press, we try to, and we're trying to grow our marketing platform and abilities. But at the same time, even those of us publishers who want to put in as much effort as we can to market, we have to do it for every author, right? And we have to do it equally. But the author themselves has all the time, that all their extra time to
Yeah,
spend doing that for themselves. So it's a two-way street. But like with big press companies, you, like I said, you have to get an agent, and then you have to, they give you only like maybe 10% of the royalties at a lot of publishers,
wow,
big publishers, and then you have to give 5 to 15% of your cut to your agent. So if money is what you're interested in, you may or may not be better off self-publishing. But with self-publishing, you got to do all the marketing. So, and it's on one hand with the big publishers, you got their platform. They'll put your book in stores. They'll put your book on their website. But you got to think, if you're a small author, you're going up against all their big authors.
yeah.
Those names. So I mean, it's just I could sit here and do an entire show more talking about all that.
No, no, and of course, yeah, because like you said, like you mentioned, when it comes to networking, I mean, everybody basically does it themselves anyway. I mean, of course, if I'm writing something, I mean, I want people to know about it, so I'm going to be out there, promoting it as much as possible. Now, I mean, when it comes to for as far as writing books, getting them published, I mean, I think I had even asked Fry, who's actually one of the guys that went under you guys, about maybe getting that book and turned into a film. I mean, have you guys ever had anything like that? I mean, have you guys ever turned a book into a movie?
No, we haven't had anything like that yet. We don't, and as far as that goes, in our with our authors, they still have the rights to, like, if someone wanted to make their book into a movie, they would have the right to do that without us intervening, because we're just specializing in the printed,
Right.
the text, the text, like, the digitals and the print. But like, if they want to make audio books, we don't do that, but they have the right to make audio books of their own book. And if they do that, then that money's theirs. If they make a movie and they get an offer and they get a paycheck, that money's theirs. It's not, we don't get a cut. We're
Right.
just hoping to get, when you find out if it was a hit movie and people find out it was made from a book,
Yeah.
that's where we would hope we would get the sales off that. And then, but we have a 50-50 split with our authors, so what we make, they get half of. So,
Okay. Well, yeah, man, and I mean, that's pretty cool that they have that because I mean, of course, there's a lot more options to when it comes to writing. I mean, like you said, I mean, you guys specialize in the print format, I guess you could say. But I mean, as far as it going to audio, being a film, I mean, they actually can capitalize on that and keep making revenue.
right, yeah,
Now,
they.
let me ask you, bro, because of course, I mean, when it comes to being a publishing company, I mean, there's so much stuff out there, but I mean, what are some of the things that you guys do differently? I mean, is there, I mean, obviously, you said people were submitting, their books, and I mean, you guys are still going through them, so obviously, you're not just picking up every writer. So, but what are some of the curriculums or styles that you guys are looking at?
Well, I had our website guy, um, update the submissions guidelines on our page, because, or on our website, because I wanted to be as transparent as possible. I want people to know that there's a few different things we're looking for. So, like, obviously we want quality work, right? So, but it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be perfect. We know that authors are authors, and no matter how good you are at writing, you can edit your book 100 times and you might miss something. And we're going to edit it too and go through it. But we want to make sure they put forth their best effort. So we want stuff that you can tell they cared about.
Right.
We also want stuff that's interesting, and we think that it could be. We look for things that are different as well, and experimental. But also, we put on there, obviously, if you have a big platform and you have a lot of followers, that's going to help your case, right? So, sellability, creativity, skill, we kind of look for a little bit of all. Where some That's another good thing about small press, right? So, like, with small presses, a lot of us, we don't just look for people who have a big following. Like, if you're trying to get on with Big Four, Big Five, they're going to most likely, agents and them are they're only going to pick you up if you already have some sort of a platform. Whereas with the small press, a lot of us will, some of us will, say, hey, we think you have a good book. We want to put it under our banner. But at the same time, we're still going to say, hey, even if this is something we don't think is what we would read, we could find an audience for this. You know what I mean? So it's
Oh
just
yeah.
kind of a balance of everything.
Okay, and I mean that's a good point that you brought up. I mean, because of course, I mean, when it comes to having a platform, I mean, there's a thing out there, and I mean, because I do cover combat sports as well, and it's like I get fighters that are like, or just people in general are messaging me like, hey, I've got 100 million or 100, and I'm going to their page, and a lot of them are bought, they're fake profiles, and I mean, do you guys do that as well? Because I do it just to see who the people are. I don't, if they want to buy them, that's on them. It's their money. But it's like at the same time, I don't. I'm not gonna interview or bring somebody in just because they have 1,000. You know what I mean? Like followers or whatever. I mean, it's like, man, if we're gonna talk, we're gonna talk.
Right. We did recently have an author that I looked up that they had submitted something to us, and I was looking at their platform, and that what I look for if I'm looking at someone's platform is not just their amount of followers, because that doesn't always mean anything
Yeah,
either. Because algorithms matter, and like you said, there can be paid people, bots, fake accounts. What I look for is interaction.
yeah,
And I saw one person once, they had like, I don't know, 12,000 followers on their page,
yeah,
but they only would get like two reactions,
yeah,
which isn't necessarily on them because, again, I watched when we first revived Nightmare Press, I watched our posts go from 100 something reactions down and it just kept dropping as time because that's how the algorithms work. They want you to boost the page,
yeah,
right? But I looked at another person's like Instagram, and they were talking about their book they were writing and trying to get published, and they were getting 145 likes. They were getting 75 comments, and I'm like, and that's not obviously to a big publisher. I don't know that they would really even. I don't know what they would feel about that,
yeah,
but to a smaller publisher, we're looking at that like, hey, that's a
yeah.
lot of pretty decent sized followers.
No, no, it's true. I mean, yeah, because even like I said, I mean, when it comes to the fight game, and I know it used to be a thing back in the day. Like, where promoters used to get fighters that would sell tickets. I mean, they still kind of do. You're in the main event, they expect you to sell tickets. They got to make their money, but
Yeah,
at the same time, it's a big jump because, say, a regional company that's here in Texas, and say, compared to the UFC, who's already got a following, already has the rhythm, the algorithm going, and everything. It's like they don't need, you know what I mean? Like, they already have that, so it's like they just want top quality fighters. I mean, of course they want to sell tickets too, but they don't have to worry, or put too much effort into like having to like advertise, or network. I mean, it's already, they get a lot of hits, man. I mean, but yeah,
right.
but let me ask you this though. I mean, when it comes to the page, because obviously I think it's only on Facebook that you guys have the Nightmare Press. It's on Instagram as well.
We have we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we also have like a couple other platforms, but I've my time is limited, so
I was gonna say, man, for me,
I'm
it's
trying to find
normally,
somebody to help me with the pages and stuff. But yeah, right now I just stick to Facebook. We have 900 some followers on Instagram, which isn't a ton, but I mean it's okay considering that we were out for 3.5 to 4 years. We weren't doing anything because a lot of personal issues, and we were able to bring that back pretty strong. So we're just going to try to follow that momentum, and we got marketing ideas and plans. We got to implement them and get the books out there first.
no, no, for sure, man. And I mean, there's a couple of things that I've done that I figure out, because even me, as much as I network, and I'm on Instagram, there's still stuff I'm learning, I'm picking up, and I'm like, damn, I didn't know you could do that, or I didn't know that's, I, I'm self-taught when it comes to doing this. At the beginning, when I first started the podcast for Combat Sports, it was a mess, bro. It was a hot mess. It was just not good. It's gotten better. I would say. But I mean, it's platforms like StreamYard. It's one of them. Dude, this is what I use, and it's easy to follow. And it's I told people I kind of want to be like the vocalist in the band. I just want to be able to plug my mic and that's it. Everything else, dude,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't have the patience to learn, brother, unfortunately. But yeah, but of course, I mean, let me ask you, when it comes to publishing books, what's a turnaround? Because you said they order it in Amazon and they automatically like go ahead and start printing.
yeah. Like if someone was to order, one copy of each of the books we just put out, they as soon as of course, Amazon takes a while to take the money out and ship it. But I mean, as soon as they take the money and they accept the order, and they'll as far as I know, that's when they start printing, and then or at least they put in to print it, and then like they'll ship it, and who knows when they'll ship it. It could be the next day, it could be the next week, but usually it's at the most it's usually a couple weeks at the most. Usually it's less.
No, no, for sure, man. And I was gonna say, I mean, I was a postal employee 15 years, man. So I would always tell people, because I worked at the plant the last 4 years of me working there, and tossing boxes, bro. Like, we had to pitch them. We had to, like, literally, we stand here and it's like wire cages, all across the room, and we're having to pitch the boxes. You know, I mean, that was like the quickest way to separate everything by zip code and whether it was city, local, or out of state, man. But yeah, sometimes the box would hit the wrong cage, and it was one of those things where we're like, it'll find its way back,
Yep.
and then it sucks to say, man, but
You're not gonna jump in there and dig it out, man. You got
no, bro. I mean, that was like, I mean, it sucked. I mean, I hated doing that, and it didn't happen often because, if anything, it helped my dart game because I had a good wrist after a while, But I was just
that.
pitching books and envelopes and all that, everything, man. But yeah, when it comes to the post office, I know Amazon has their own thing. I mean, they do a lot of USPS as well, but it's normally a quick turnaround. The shipping usually takes 3 to 5 days. If it's I don't know if they get shipped out like first class or if it's just like a bulk rate, which is books and other stuff. When it comes to media, but yeah, man. I mean, I'm happy about that because yeah, you can order a book and have it with have it in your bookshelf or on hand like pretty quick. And
Yeah.
at the same time, you did say that you guys do have a digital copy, right? So I mean, is that something that I mean, what do they get? Like a quick link, or how does that work?
Well, they just if it's on Amazon, they just go there and they just hit buy now, and it will go right to their. As long as the money clears, it'll go right to their Kindle. So
Oh, okay, okay.
as far as any other of the other platforms, I'm not sure how fast they work, but I'm pretty sure that all of them are. The whole point of digital is to be instantaneous. So I've only personally ever used the Kindle app myself, and I didn't even start reading off that until like I think earlier this year.
Oh man, okay, okay, yeah, because
I
I
was had
know.
I had books all over the house, so I had to get rid of a lot of them because it was just too much.
No,
So I
no,
started,
I hear you, man. I hear you because even my oldest, growing up, she was a bookworm, man. I mean, she was a speed reader, and when I first saw it, I thought she was playing around. So she still throws that in my face, and she's like, "Dad, used to get mad at me because I used to read fast," and I'm like, I didn't get mad at you. I used to get upset because I thought she was playing around, like because her eyes were like literally, bro, like man. I mean, she
yeah,
was quick, but that's how she read, man. And it was one of those things where we go to the bookstore, and I'm like, hey, get a book. We're gonna be walking around, and like, dude, by the time we got to the register, she's like, Dad, I'm done. Like I read it, and I'm
wow,
like, damn, dude, she was quick, boy. Like,
yeah,
but yeah, but when it came to getting one of those Kindles, man, that was the best thing because we were like, you know what, let's just get this and we'll just order them, because she was going through them quick, and we still went to bookstores. It's one of those things we did, and go to the park, throw a blanket, and just relax. Enjoy the day. But you know, back to the good old days, man. I mean, I do miss those days of tranquility, man. Because we didn't, for the most part, I don't even think I had a cell phone even then. But my kids had a cell phone before I did, so
yeah.
we
I didn't get it. I used to not even bother getting a cell phone ever. It was just only within the last 5 years that I started having one regularly.
yeah, oh yeah. You see, like I mentioned, I was a letter carrier 15 years, and like the first 5 years, we were on paper maps. It was before Google, man. Like Google Maps
Yeah,
wasn't even around, so we used to follow paper maps like pirates, trying to find these destinations and not try not to get lost. But yeah, man, times have changed, So for the most part, it's gotten better. It's just, a lot of times we got to unwind and unplug and just kind of get away from this whole social media thing, man. Take a little mental break.
yeah, definitely.
Now, of course, I mean, you mentioned earlier, the image that I posted up. I mean, there's a couple of projects coming up. When it comes to writing, I mean, of course, a lot of these books are their stories, right? I mean, these are projects that they're throwing at you guys, and But there was one. The reason I'm asking is because there was one on here, and it kind of gave me like the whole Return to the Living Dead vibe.
Yeah, Whoops, I Woke the Dead by Joseph Rubis.
Yes.
Yeah, he that's a really fun book, and Joseph Rubis is an excellent writer.
Yeah.
He was in it for a long time, and he a few years ago decided to step away, and I haven't heard from him in a long time.
Wow.
But the book's really good. It's about a girl who gets she's a high school girl. And she finds this ancient spell book, and on Halloween night she reads from it, and it brings back the dead. And it's pretty funny. I mean, and it's a lighthearted book, and yeah, I enjoy the cover because I'm a Return of the Living Dead fan. I
Oh
always
yeah.
have been, and I thought this is really good. And I don't know. I kind of wish he would come out of a hiatus because he's got a lot of talent. But it is what it is. This indie industry especially horror, drives a lot of people to give up, and it's not always the best environment. It's not always the best community to be a part of. And then the people who want to come in there just to do writing and just do the best they can with their craft and not get involved in all the cliques and politics and all that, they usually end up mad and they usually end up stepping away. So he was one of those, and I don't know. I think it's unfortunate.
No, yeah, man, it's true because I mean, no matter how much I want to say there's no politics in anything. I mean, there is, when it comes to locals, somebody's doing their thing, this other guy's doing their thing, and so forth, and some people bicker and get upset or whatever the case may be, But at the end of the day, for me, I mean, being that I'm media and I do have a podcast, they give me that opportunity to go out there and grab content and grab some interviews while I'm out there, which I love because I get to meet the actors. I mean, they're out there doing their thing,
Yeah.
but yeah, like you mentioned earlier, man. I mean, horror is pretty big here in Texas, man. I mean, here in San Antonio, we've been having like events pretty much like back to back. It's pretty rare. There's nothing going on here in the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I noticed when I got into this years ago, that Texas is real big on horror. But I was going to say too, like, when you mentioned the politics and everything that goes on, but all you can really do, I guess, to rise above it is to just try to be the change that you want to see. That's what everybody said, and that's what I just decided. That's what we just decided we were going to do. Instead of trying to work against the tide and change anything, we were just going to be the change, and that's what part of Nightmare Press is about.
Nice, brother. And that's actually one of the quotes I always post, man. Be the change you want to see in the world, man. I mean, makes sense, right? I mean, it's one of those things, and I'll say this because for me, like I react to things differently. I'm not. I mean, like not to say I don't take death seriously, not to say I don't take pain seriously, because if I'm in pain, I mean it hurts, right? But I mean, I tend to laugh a lot, man. I use a lot of comedy and to distract myself from the pain. I mean, whether it's a bad day or just having a bad moment, it's like for me, I'm just like, man, I just it's easier for me to go around the speed bump than go through it. It's like why even bother, and that's kind of the way I live life. People keep telling me that for one thing they're like, oh, I turned 50 like 2 weeks ago, man, and everybody's like, hey, you look good for 50, and I'm like, you know what, I've got my ailments. I can use that word now. I'm old, but for the most part, like I try not to stress too much about stuff I can't control, man. So if that's something that I know I can't change, or I don't even, I just keep going, and it does bother a lot of people because I guess they expect me to go crazy and pull my hair out, and who knows. But it's just like, man, if I don't like, I'm impatient when it comes to trying to change things. It's like if it's not going to happen, I just keep going, move on to something else and keep working on what I can control.
Do things your own way, do them as best you can, and those who recognize it and appreciate it will follow.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
When
And
it
I
comes
agree.
when it comes to the people in your life, whether it's the the people personally, your friendship circle, or whether it's the work, whether it's like your podcast or us with our press, it's not necessarily about quality or not quantity. It's about quality, the
Yeah.
people you have around you.
No.
So
Yeah.
I'd rather have 5 or 6 good people helping me out and working with me than 100 people who don't really do much except bellyache and cause a lot of problems.
No,
So
that's true, man. That's true. I know. I think it was a Snoop Dogg, right? Of all things, like they were interviewing him a while back. I don't know how old the interview was. It just popped up on my feed one day. But he was talking about how when he said, man, one of the things as rappers, like when we start going big, we get like an entourage of like 100 people. He's like, what are these 100 people doing? Like all they're doing is eating my food, spending my money, taking. He said, man, I
yeah,
had to cut everybody out, and it wasn't personal, it was business, and it's true, man. It's like, I mean, when you're at the bottom, it's like, I mean, those that are like, true. Those are that are our following and are your friends. I mean, those are the ones that are going to stick around, And it's like I say, even when it comes to the fight game, I always tell these fighters, I mean, don't don't step on people, man, because we
yeah.
every star falls. So at one point we're going to be back, and it's like, if you fall back and nobody nobody you cared about when you were up the top, I mean, they're not gonna mess with you, So it's just, just I mean, count your blessings, man. I mean, there's a lot going on, and for the most part, all of us are trying to make it, but I mean, for me, it's like dude, I keep saying this, and a lot of the promoters here locally too. We keep saying that, man. It's just like I hope we all make it. It's like it's not a
Yeah.
race, it's not a competition. It's just like keep doing what you're doing, and I mean, make it what you want, man. Really.
Yeah, just do the best you can. See what I mean, you work with what you've got, and you can't force anything else.
No, no, and of course we don't want to buy, we don't want to be like the rest of the world and buy followers, right? Or get these fake numbers and you said quantity over quality. It's true, man. I always tell people I'd rather have 100 people that are gonna react than 100,000 that aren't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because when you got 100,000 people, like say on your page, when you got 100,000 people on your page and none of them are reacting, they're taking up your algorithm. Your
yeah.
algorithm, they're eating it up.
Well, yeah, you see, and that's another one too, man. And that's why I had noticed because my before my old page got hacked and I lost it, and it was at like a 3,000 and something, and it was hard because a lot of the stuff even then wasn't getting through. I had to like start tagging certain people just because it was like, man, it was Facebook trying to get you to buy ads and but
Mhm.
spend money, right? But yeah, man. But yeah, it's true, man. I mean, even now, I do try to get my numbers up. I mean, when it comes to media, I do want a following, but at the same time, I want people to follow me that are going to actually be interested in reading and seeing what I'm doing, because it's not just about, posting 100 memes a day. It's just like, what, every day I try to post an interview. I try to post an old one. I try to bring something back that I've done, just to keep promoting everybody.
Yeah. Well, I know it's kind of like stuff we've talked about at Nightmare Press. You're talking about buying followers. We've talked about people who buy reviews,
Yeah.
and just kind of like I, I think we, I think a lot of people do that, but I also think a lot of people just end up in a friendship circle where they just got friends reading their books, like a whole circle of authors who are all just friends, and they read each other's books and tell each other how great they are and give each other 5-star reviews all the time.
Yeah.
And that works for a minute until people outside that circle start reading them and they start to realize these books aren't as good as what people are saying. These are all their friends. They start looking through and they see these people are authors too. So it works for a minute, but then it doesn't. And that's why having like legit real followers and real readers and real quality actually matters. Because if you have like a bunch of books that have like, let's just say 10 to 20 to 30 reviews that are real, that I'll say like verified purchase on it, and because you can post a review on Amazon. That's what they do. They give each other free copies of their books and they read them, and they don't buy them, they just post them. But then they eventually end up getting people who actually buy them. But then like if you have like 30 verified purchases, a bunch of books like that, that's going to do more for you in the long run because they're legit.
No, no, for sure. Yeah, man. And and the truth is out there, man. I mean, once people start realizing and noticing, it's just, a lot of it is fake. I mean, for those that are, of course, gonna have that following and are doing great stuff, then for sure, more power to them, man. I mean,
Yeah,
not all of us that can do it, but
that's
but
what I'd rather see. I want to see people who are getting legitimate, and I'm not talking about just with Nightmare Press or even just myself and my wife. I'm talking about like people I don't even know that may be in the community. I want to see more authors who have legit sales and reviews
yeah,
going up on there instead of all these people after people who have a bunch of blank reviews that are just not purchased and all that. Everybody starts to see through it when they look at the indie scene and they see that and they think that just gives them more ammo to say it's not legit, that it's all just crap. It's just people. It looks bad. Like it looks bad for everybody.
yeah, it
And
really does, man.
and the people who are out there, I mean, there's people out there who get a lot of good reviews. People that I may have had personal problems with or I don't like, but I'm glad for them getting like real actual reviews and followers because it's better for everybody in the long run.
No, no. I know yesterday I had a local guest here, or a local, movie director, actor, writer. But we were talking about that because I was like, man, even if people out there that don't like our work, I mean, at least sit through it and then you can bash it at the end, But sit through the whole thing,
Right.
man. Definitely keep following, man. But bro, but of course, I mean, and tell us, I mean, you do have some books that are going to be published soon. Can you drop us some names on some of the stuff that you guys are working on when it comes to you and the wife?
Yeah. So, like I said, the book that's for pre-order now, that's going to be published soon. on Nightmare Press. It's called A Chance in Hell, an Ava Edison heist. It's the first book of a series by Marcus Cook, and we're working on getting that published. And it's going to be a good one. There's another I'm working on called American Mystic, the life, death, and rebirth of Jimmy Wonderful. It's written by actually a native to our state, a Kentucky native, Coyote Wallace. It's a magical realism, but it's written like Gonzo style journalism. It's fiction, but it's character he kind of created through his own eyes and wrote about this world, and it's really good. Um, there's oh gosh, we got so many. Jenny's working on one that's part true crime, part biography, about different Hollywood actresses from the old days called Death and Lipstick. And geez, we got so many. Where do I start? There's one called Fat Monster by Guevara Burt Piedmont, and that's the story about a woman who dealt with being overweight and having to be ridiculed by the people around her, and then she gets caught up in like a pyramid scheme kind of thing, and it's a pretty interesting story. So we got several sci-fi type stories coming out. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of different things. We got a book called Scrolls of Ramos, Scribe of Egypt, on its way out. It's about the plagues of Egypt, told from Ramses II scribe, um, by James Arthur Anderson. We got a short story collection called Peach by Douglas K. Courier, which is a bunch of transgressive stories, by just the way he pitched it to me. Was like about bad people. I write about bad people who do bad things, and that's pretty much what the story is. So we got a lot of like diverse ideas. Oh, and one we got coming out that I'm really excited about is called Bill's Prince of the South Side, and it's written by a guy named G.E. Moore, and it's about this kid living in Chicago, and he finds out that like there's his family has like a lot of like mystical, magical background stuff, and it's going to be good. I can't wait for that one to come out. And there's just so much different stuff that we have. I'm excited about to see Nightmare Press grow and give all these people a chance to hopefully do some good with their work.
And let me ask you, bro, because earlier you mentioned westerns, man. Are there any westerns that are going to be coming out soon?
Yeah, well, I don't know how soon it's going to be, but it is in the pipes. Actually, Coyote Wallace, the one who wrote the American Mystic I just mentioned, we also signed another one by him called the Sarah Corbin's Bloody Revenge,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's a Western revenge story. That one's gonna be some fun too.
Sweet, man. No, no, for sure. Like I mentioned, I mean, when it came to movies, I mean, I know for sure TV shows, we used to sit down and watch. So I mean, I've always been a fan of Western. I mean, not so much I guess that's one of those terms like I mean for people now, I mean, everything's country, right? But for us,
It's
back
Western.
then that's what we called it Western, man. That's when we say our age, bro. But it's all good
Yeah,
though, man. Great stuff. But my
there's.
man, I mean, I do appreciate you jumping on here, man. I mean, is there anything else you want to tell us before we wrap this up?
I know if you're interested in following Nightmare Press, the best place to come look is on Facebook, and of course our site nightmarepress.net.
No, no, for sure. And of course, I mean, I do have the link up here on the screen, but I mean, I'll be posting it as well. I'll be sharing your page. I'll be, sending people your way, man. I mean, people that I know personally that are, readers that actually are novelists or writers and authors and everything else. So that way you guys can keep that following growing because, I mean, it might not be guys that work with you, but I mean, I'm sure they'd appreciate the work that you guys are doing. And, who knows what, collab you guys can get into later, man. But dude,
Hey,
I
the more eyes on us, the better.
yeah. No, no, for sure, man. But brother, I do appreciate your time, man. Thank you for jumping on here. I know you had brought up the fact that you'll be sending more people. I mean, Fry was on here a while back, and I appreciate him. And anybody else that you have, bro, by all means, send them my way. I'll lock him in and schedule them for an episode, man.
Absolutely.
Oh man, everybody, don't hang up yet, brother. Everybody out there, of course. Once again, this is Spida, the Coming Soon podcast. Jacob Floyd, of course. Nightmare Press. Till next time, follow up.